Here is the part that should give you genuine hope, and I mean real, documented, research-backed hope. Not the kind of hope that gets you through to your next prescription refill. Your arterial walls are not cement. They are living tissue. They respond to input. The endothelium can repair itself when the damaging inputs are removed and the right nutrients are restored. Nitric oxide production can be brought back. Arterial elasticity can be recovered. And when those things happen, blood pressure responds, sometimes faster than any physician told you was possible. But here is what you need first. Before protocols, before food changes, before any supplement discussion, you need to know where you actually stand, and that requires 3 specific tests. Tests that your doctor almost certainly has never ordered. Tests that together cost less than a single copay. And tests that would tell you more about the true state of your cardiovascular health than any blood pressure reading ever could. Listen carefully. Here are the 3. First, red blood cell magnesium, not serum magnesium, not the standard magnesium test on your regular blood panel. Red blood cell magnesium. Remember what I told you earlier. Less than 1% of your body's magnesium is in your blood. Standard tests measure the blood. They miss the 99% that is inside your cells, inside your arterial walls, inside the sodium-potassium pumps that keep your pressure regulated. Red blood cell magnesium is the test that actually reflects what is happening inside the tissue. Most physicians have never ordered it. Many don't even know to order it. Second, potassium to sodium ratio, not just a potassium number by itself. The ratio. A potassium level of 4 means something completely different depending on whether your sodium is at 140 or 145. The relationship between these 2 minerals is what determines how your artery walls behave. You need both numbers together to understand what your arteries are actually experiencing. Third, fasting insulin, not fasting glucose. Insulin. This is the test that catches insulin resistance a decade before glucose ever moves. It costs less than $30. It is rarely ordered because there is no pharmaceutical intervention attached to a slightly elevated insulin number at that early stage. There is no pill to prescribe. So the test that would catch the problem earliest, the test that could give you a 10-year head start on protecting your arteries, almost never gets ordered. These 3 tests together paint the real picture. The picture your regular physical never shows you. Have you had any of these tests? Drop a comment below and let me know. Now here is what I want you to do before part 3, tonight, not next week, tonight. Think about the oils in your kitchen right now. Look at your cooking oil. Look at your salad dressing. If it says vegetable oil, canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, or heart-healthy oil, I want you to set it aside. Replace it with extra virgin olive oil for cold use, butter or ghee for cooking. That one change alone begins removing one of the most direct sources of endothelial damage from your daily diet. It will not fix your blood pressure overnight. Nothing honest will promise you that. But it removes a daily assault on the cells responsible for producing the molecule that relaxes your arteries, and that is where recovery begins. In part 3, I'm going to give you the complete natural protocol, step by step, with the specific foods, the specific forms of magnesium that actually reach your arterial walls versus the ones that don't, the exact mechanism behind beets and why one specific vegetable can produce blood pressure reductions comparable to a first-line medication, and the one eating pattern change that addresses insulin resistance without a single prescription. Part 3. The real reason your blood pressure goes up after 50. Dr. Danzy Senior Health Tips. You've stayed with me this far, and I want you to know something. Most people who click on a video like this, they watch 2 minutes, they get distracted, they move on, but you're still here. And that tells me something about you. It tells me you are serious about understanding what is actually happening inside your body, not just managing a number, actually understanding it. So in this part, I'm going to give you everything. The complete protocol, the specific steps, the exact mechanisms, the forms that work and the forms that don't, And one piece of information at the very end that I have been holding back because it connects everything we've talked about into a single picture that finally makes sense of why so many people never get better despite doing everything their doctor told them. Let's go. Step 1. Rebuild your potassium. And I need to say this clearly first. I am not telling you to eat more bananas. I know that's the first thing people think. Bananas have potassium. But here's what nobody tells you about bananas. One medium banana contains about 420 milligrams of potassium, and it also contains almost 30 grams of sugar. Your arteries need the potassium desperately, but they do not need the blood sugar spike that comes with it, especially if insulin resistance is already part of your picture, which, after everything we discussed in Part 2, it very likely is. The most potassium-dense foods per calorie are not bananas. They are dark leafy greens. 1 cup of cooked beet greens delivers over 1,300 milligrams of potassium. 1 full avocado delivers nearly 1,000 milligrams with almost no sugar and a full load of healthy fat that your arterial walls actually need. Cooked Swiss chard, cooked spinach, acorn squash, wild-caught salmon. These are your potassium sources. Real potassium, without the blood sugar consequences. You want to be hitting at least 4,700 milligrams of potassium daily. Most Americans are getting around 2,500. That means most people reading this need to roughly double their potassium intake, and they need to do it through these foods, not through bananas, not through sports drinks, not through supplements that contain a fraction of what you actually need. Start there, tonight. Add 1 cup of cooked spinach or Swiss chard to your dinner, 1 full avocado to your lunch. That alone begins moving the needle on potassium in a way that no salt restriction ever could. Step 2. Restore your magnesium. And this is where the form matters enormously. Listen carefully. Because this is the piece that most people get completely wrong. Walk into any pharmacy or grocery store and look at the magnesium supplements on the shelf. The majority of them, the cheap ones, the ones in the big bottles with the low prices, contain something called magnesium oxide. And magnesium oxide has an absorption rate of approximately 4%. 4%. That means if you take a 400 milligram magnesium oxide tablet, your body absorbs about 16 milligrams. The rest goes straight through you and out. These supplements are not useless, but for blood pressure and arterial health specifically, they are close to it. The forms you want are magnesium glycinate and magnesium malate. Magnesium glycinate is bound to an amino acid called glycine. That binding allows it to pass through the intestinal wall and into the bloodstream far more efficiently. And once in the bloodstream, it crosses into the arterial tissue where the sodium-potassium pump lives. This is the form that actually reaches the machinery we talked about, the form that actually restores pump function, the form that actually allows potassium to get back into the cells where it belongs. Magnesium malate is bound to malic acid. It has a slightly different profile. It supports energy production inside the mitochondria, the energy centers of your cells. And that matters because your arterial smooth muscle cells need energy to contract and relax properly. When mitochondrial function is low, arterial walls lose their ability to respond. They get stuck, tight, unresponsive. Magnesium malate helps restore that responsiveness at the cellular level. A dose between 300 and 400 milligrams of elemental magnesium from either of these forms, taken at night, is where the research consistently shows the most benefit for blood pressure. The 2017 meta-analysis I mentioned earlier, 34 clinical trials, confirmed this range produces measurable reductions in both systolic and diastolic pressure. If you prefer food sources first, dark chocolate above 85% cacao is one of the most concentrated sources of magnesium available. Pumpkin seeds, hemp seeds. 1 ounce of pumpkin seeds delivers over 150 milligrams of highly absorbable magnesium. Start adding them to your meals. Step 3. Restore nitric oxide production. And this is the step that surprises people the most, because the most researched whole food source of nitric oxide support is not a pill, it is not a powder, it is a vegetable that most Americans walk right past in the grocery store. Beets. Beets and beet greens contain some of the highest concentrations of dietary nitrates found in any food on Earth, and here is the mechanism. When you consume dietary nitrates from beets and leafy greens, your body converts them through a specific biological pathway into nitric oxide, the same molecule your damaged endothelium has been struggling to produce. You are essentially bypassing the broken machinery and delivering the end product directly. A 2015 meta-analysis published in the journal Hypertension analyzed daily dietary nitrate intake from beet juice and leafy greens across multiple clinical trials. The finding was remarkable. Daily nitrate intake reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 4.4 millimeters of mercury. I want you to understand what that number means in context. Most first-line blood pressure medications lower systolic pressure by 5 to 10 millimeters of mercury. You are getting most of that same effect from a vegetable, not a pharmaceutical, a vegetable that costs $2 at the grocery store. The second most researched food for nitric oxide support is pomegranate. A 2012 clinical trial showed that 1 cup of pomegranate juice daily for just 4 weeks reduced systolic blood pressure by over 5 points in participants with hypertension. The mechanism is different from beets. Pomegranate works partly by protecting the enzymes that produce nitric oxide from oxidative damage. It guards the machinery rather than bypassing it. Together, beets and pomegranate work on the same problem from 2 different directions. Add beet greens to your cooking. Drink 4 to 8 ounces of pure beet juice 3 to 4 times per week. Add pomegranate to your routine. These are not expensive interventions. They are some of the most powerful cardiovascular tools available without a prescription. Step 4. Address insulin resistance at the table, not at the pharmacy. This is important. If your blood pressure is highest in the morning, before you have eaten anything, that is not primarily a salt problem. That is an insulin problem. Here is why. In the early morning hours, your body releases a hormone called cortisol to help you wake up and get moving. Cortisol signals your liver to release stored glucose into the bloodstream. If you are insulin resistant, that glucose spike triggers an insulin response, and elevated insulin in the morning hours triggers a cascade of vascular effects: arterial constriction, sodium retention, increased heart rate. That pushes blood pressure up before your day has even started. This is why so many people with high blood pressure find that their readings are worst first thing in the morning and improve slightly as the day goes on. The most effective dietary intervention for insulin resistance is not a supplement. It is not a medication. It is removing refined carbohydrates from your daily eating, not just sugar, starch, bread, white rice, breakfast cereal, crackers, pasta. These foods spike insulin just as dramatically as sugar does, sometimes more, because they convert to glucose almost instantly during digestion. And here is something that will feel counterintuitive. Reducing how often you eat matters as much as what you eat. When you eat 5 or 6 small meals a day, as many popular diet programs recommend, your insulin never fully drops. It stays elevated throughout the day, and chronically elevated insulin keeps your arteries in a state of low-grade constriction. It maintains the conditions that suppress nitric oxide. It keeps the arterial damage accumulating. 2 meals a day, with a genuine gap of at least 6 to 8 hours between them, allows insulin to fall back to its baseline between meals. That falling insulin period is when insulin sensitivity begins to restore itself. Not from a pill, not from a supplement, from time, from the absence of food signals, from letting your body do what it was designed to do when it is not constantly being asked to process another meal. Have you noticed that you feel different when you skip a meal compared to when you eat constantly? That feeling is real. That is your insulin responding. Step 5. Ask for the 3 tests. I want you to take this to your next doctor's appointment. Write these down. Red blood cell magnesium, not serum magnesium, red blood cell magnesium. If your doctor is unfamiliar with this test, it is available through functional medicine lab panels independently. Quest Diagnostics and LabCorp both offer it. Potassium to sodium ratio. Ask for both numbers together so you and your doctor can look at the relationship between them, not just a standalone potassium number. Fasting insulin, not fasting glucose. Insulin. specifically fasting insulin. This test costs less than $30 in most labs. It will tell you whether insulin resistance is silently driving your arterial damage. And catching it early, before glucose moves, gives you a 10-year head start on intervention. These three numbers together will tell you more about your true cardiovascular health than any blood pressure reading alone, and most people have never had a single one of them. Now, here is the piece I promised you at the beginning of this part, the one thing I held back, the thing that ties everything together. One man I want to tell you about was 71 years old. He had been managing high blood pressure for 14 years. He was on a diuretic. He was on a calcium channel blocker. He was doing everything his doctors told him. His pressure was controlled on paper. The number on the machine was acceptable, but he was exhausted all the time. His legs cramped at night. He had trouble sleeping. He felt mentally foggy, and his pressure kept requiring medication adjustments every 18 months. He asked his doctor why he felt so terrible if his blood pressure was under control. His doctor told him it was just aging. It was not aging. His diuretic had been depleting his potassium and magnesium for 14 years. His red blood cell magnesium was critically low. His potassium to sodium ratio was completely inverted. His fasting insulin was elevated, showing insulin resistance that had never once been measured or addressed. His nitric oxide production had been declining for over a decade from the seed oils in his daily diet and the chronic insulin elevation from the bread and cereal he ate every morning, thinking it was heart healthy. He was doing everything right by the standard medical playbook. And the standard medical playbook was missing 4 of the 5 root causes driving his condition. When he addressed those root causes, the minerals, the oils, the insulin, the nitrate-rich foods, his energy came back within 6 weeks. His leg cramps disappeared, his sleep improved, and over 12 weeks, his blood pressure responded well enough that his physician began discussing reducing his medication dose for the first time in 14 years, not because he found a magic cure, because he finally addressed what was actually broken. Your arteries did not fail overnight, and they will not recover overnight, but the research is consistent, and it is clear. People who address these root mechanisms, potassium, magnesium, nitric oxide, insulin resistance, arterial inflammation from damaged fats, consistently see measurable improvement in blood pressure within 8 to 12 weeks, not because they masked a number, because they changed what was happening inside the tissue. That is the difference between managing a disease and actually beginning to reverse its cause. Now, before I let you go, I want to hear from you. Drop your age in the comments below. Tell me where you are watching from, whether you are 62 in California, 68 in Georgia, or 74 in Pennsylvania. Tell me. I read every single comment, everyone. And tell me this. How long have you been on blood pressure medication? Has your doctor ever ordered a fasting insulin test? Have you ever heard of red blood cell magnesium before today? I want to know, because your story matters, and your questions help me know exactly what to cover next. If this video gave you something your last doctor's appointment didn't, please share it with someone you love who is dealing with the same thing. A spouse, a sibling, a friend. Because this information does not find people on its own. You sharing it is the only way it reaches the people who need it most. And if you want to go even deeper, the next video you need to watch is right here. It covers the specific form of magnesium that most people are taking right now that does almost nothing for the cardiovascular system, and the 2 forms that actually cross into the arterial wall where the real problem lives. Watch it next. It will change how you think about every supplement on your shelf. Thank you for being here. I'm Dr. Danzy, and I'll see you in the next one.